Game over, man. Game over.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
So simple.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Oh, welcome to episode 646 for July 17th, 2025, and I'm J.D. Duran.
And I'm Brendan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm really looking forward to this week's show. We are once again recording this a little bit early because I, as this episode is released to the public, have finally gone home for the first time since before the pandemic.
I was going to say, how long
has
it been? 5 years? Oh my
at
goodness.
Least, yeah, at least 5 years. I think it was 2019. It might have been 2018, but I'm fairly confident I was able to get home in 2019. But either way, it was certainly pre-pandemic.
So you need this. Wow.
I need this. So as
is
we
the whole
speak,
family going? Is it just you or the whole family going?
Nope, the whole family is going. My parents have, of course, met Andrew. And my brother and his family came down here last year, so they got to meet Andrew. But the rest of my family, including my sister, have not even met the little one yet.
That's amazing.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That is incredible. It's going to be a lot of baby cuddling from the family.
A lot of baby cuddling. A lot of baby kissing for sure. Andrew is for sure going to get annoyed of my mom just kissing him nonstop for a week.
My goodness.
But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time. I am taking Sam to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio at the tail end of the trip.
Oh, that should be great.
He is going to love that. He is obsessed with history, particularly World War II stuff. He loves it.
Oh my gosh, like father, like son for sure.
Yes. And he wants to go check out all these planes, and he's going to have a great time.
I wonder where he gets that influence from. That's adorable.
Yeah, it was really funny. I sat him down recently because he wanted to watch Saving Private Ryan. And I've been waiting. Because he wants to watch Saving Private Ryan. I think he's at a point now where he could handle the material, especially given the video games that he plays and some of the YouTube videos. He's at a point now where the violence isn't as concerning. Really, the hardest part with Sam is just getting his attention for more than 3 minutes.
I think that's what I'm thinking about, because some of the movies that you've told me he has seen before, that's not the thing that necessarily scares me about him watching Saving Private Ryan. It's a lot of that middle chunk where a lot of characters are just talking about the morals and ethics of this mission. I wonder if that's just a little bit too slow moving for a child of that age.
100%. That's the part where he would struggle the most. It's not the graphic violence. It is the slow mundanity, the talking, the philosophical stuff.
Yeah.
That's where he would struggle. In fact, recently we also watched Prey from a few years ago, the Predator movie. He saw the trailer for Predator Badlands, and
he's like, I want to watch that.
Asked if he could go see it. And I'm like, yeah, let me introduce you to some other Predator movies. And I love that original Predator, but I thought Prey would be a better introduction for him. So we put that on, and I forgot that it's about 45 minutes until you get to the Predator action. And
it's mostly a Comanche movie for the most part.
Yeah. Like that first 45 minutes, it is a lot of characters talking or setting up the dynamic of everybody, our central character, of course. And I had to keep him engaged till we got to the Predator part. So like even that was a bit of a struggle. So to your point, everything after that opening scene in Saving Private Ryan, there's of course a lot of action, but there's a lot of the slow moving parts where he would have struggled. But he especially wanted to watch that D-Day sequence.
Yeah.
So I sat him down and we watched the D-Day sequence. And again, he's not bothered by the violence. It was hysterical how he quickly flipped into history nerd because the whole time he's like nitpicking and pointing out, oh, that's not accurate. Oh, that's not historical accurate. That's off. That's off. Like he just wanted to nitpick all the historical inaccuracies of the moment. It was so funny.
So not only is he pointing out historical inaccuracies with World War II, but we had him on the show for Jurassic World Rebirth. He's pointing inaccuracies about dinosaur science.
Exactly.
As well.
Like apparently he's wanting a documentary. So I'm gonna have to teach him that art isn't a documentary.
Hey,
Apparently
he's learning cool stuff in school. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, he's learning. He's a great learner. He's very smart. Yeah. So it was really, really funny how that played out. At any rate, that's why we're taking him to the Air Force Museum. It's going to be a great time. I do look forward to getting off into the homeland. We have a really fun top 5 on the docket this week. Brendan and I are going to talk about our top 5 bands, concerts that we would want to be exposed if we were in an affair. That's going to be our top 5.
That's a great question. I mean, of course, I say it's a great question, not because it's a question I really want to ponder on, because none of us will ever be caught dead having an affair. We love both of our significant others religiously. But man, who would I like to see if that ended up being the case?
That's just... The internet was ablaze today. It was wild. And it began early this morning with that whole thing going super viral the day we are recording this anyway.
I think the funniest thing to come out of that instance, which was a Coldplay concert, and for the record, Coldplay would not be the band I would pick if that were to be me. Not even close. But the movie Together from Michael Shanks with Dave Franco and Allison Brie that I'm looking forward to. They apparently retweeted it as an ad for their movie.
It was great. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I loved how they used that for their own marketing. Yeah. I mean, I guess if it was me, I'd have to pick Llewyn Davis. That's who I would pick.
Of course, you pick a fictional artist because you wouldn't ever do it. So, all right, then, okay, I'm going to pick Spinal Tap.
Yeah, there you go. We'll go see Spinal Tap together. I can't fathom, not to get into too deep of a rabbit hole here, but why go to a very public setting like that, where even if they're not caught on camera, there's thousands of other people around. What if you run into someone that you know there? I just don't understand the behavior. Why do people do this?
Lack of brains.
I guess so. Like,
it's the only definition I have.
Yeah, but the instant recoil was pretty hilarious. It was wild.
The greatest meme of the year. Yeah, that's gonna.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That is gonna live in infamy.
It will absolutely live in infamy. I know. I was gonna say, I don't know if I feel too bad for them, but
I'm glad it happened. It's hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was very, very funny. Speaking of other crazy shenanigans happening this morning, Christopher Nolan decided, you know what? Let's put the Odyssey on sale a year early, and let's see how that goes. And I love the spirit. I don't think there was any ill intention from Christopher Nolan's perspective, but I love that he's so pure of heart and loves cinema so much that he does something like this only for the internet to turn a back on him and go like, nope, we're turning this into the black market because that's what we do here. That's what the internet does.
Well, of course, something this bold of a choice is going to have its consequences. It's going to have its detractors.
But I love that he couldn't see that. He's too pure of heart when it comes to cinema. He's so
optimistic. He's so optimistic.
Can't see that side of the coin.
I know. Hey, I at least give him, and this is Universal, if I'm not mistaken, that's distributing this. I give them all credit for at least trying to build some type of awareness for a property that is not IP. I mean, I guess it kind of is if you count the original source material that it's based on, but it's not like he's adapting like a classic sci-fi novel, like a new version of 2001 or something like that. He's going for Homer's The Odyssey. The last time we saw this on film in some way, in a popular film rather, was probably something like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, brother.
Right? Yeah, which was a loose adaptation. This is a huge epic story. So they're trying to craft some type of awareness that this is meant to be an epic event. I get that, but speaking for myself, I mean, I'm unable to decide if I'm going to see a movie exactly 1 year from now. I haven't even decided what I'm eating for dinner tomorrow night. So it's like it wouldn't work for me. Like that wouldn't work for me. And I also wonder, someone else tweeted this out. What if the movie gets delayed in some way?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll give their money back. I mean, I think a lot of it was overblown, to be perfectly honest. Outside of the idea that this is going to be turned into some sort of black market scheme, and society operates at the lowest common denominator, and bad actors will always find an opportunity if it presents itself. So that seemed inevitable. At the same time, we live in a capitalistic society. If people are willing to spend $200 on a movie ticket, you'd be kind of crazy to not. So those tickets,
that's when you
for
say
$200.
When you say it that way, it makes the movie sound like Fire Festival.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, like from a capitalistic perspective, it's whatever. That's the society that we live in. I do think from a cinephilistic movie perspective, going to the theaters is something that is meant to be for everybody. It's not something to be commoditized in this fashion. And I don't want that to become the norm. And that is the ultimate danger of putting movie tickets like that a year in advance. If this is something that became a trend, if more movies started to do this, would you see the same thing happening over and over again? Perhaps for the Supermans and the Avengers of the world, the Christopher Nolans. I don't know if it would be too much of a problem. I would also like to see more 70 millimeter IMAX screens. I think clearly there's some sort of demand for it.
I think
people
that's
are willing to pay
point.
$200 for a movie ticket.
I think that's the thing. If you're willing to pay that much for a ticket, I would hope that they're offering it in some type of premiere format that's worth that price of admission. And I think that goes back to that point you said, that needing just the simple need of more theaters to support that kind of format. It goes back to something we talked about a lot when we did our 2024 year-end wrap-up with Dave Giannini, editor-in-chief over at InSession Film, talking about the idea of access, and just not many people had access to certain things as well as they should have. So many great movies went under the radar from the general public because they just didn't have the opportunity to see them. You could say the same thing about large format event films like this. They're just kind of a dime a dozen nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And building more theaters, giving more people access, that would help alleviate some of the problem as well. But when there's a huge demand and there's only a few locations and a few screenings, that's going to hike the prices, of course. And people, clearly some people anyway, are willing to pay that much. Now, full transparency, there is a 70 millimeter IMAX screening in Fort Lauderdale near me. Did I scoop up a ticket for that? Maybe. I might have.
Well, to your point,
not for $200 though.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I'm the same way. I can wait. Until I can get at a reasonable price when it's available. I don't need to see that on opening day.
Yeah, well, I don't even know how to buy something on the black market.
Yeah.
It's probably StubHub or something like that anyway. I don't know. I just did the regular Ticketmaster.
eBay or something. Yeah. Who knows? But no, I'm with you. I wouldn't do that either.
No, but the regular normal IMAX price, I think, is reasonable. That's how I scooped up my ticket. And I know that that's a movie I'm going to see anyway. So, and I'm going to see it day one, or as
I
soon
wonder-
as humanly possible.
I wonder how many people truly knew if they did get tickets through IMAX or through whatever theater service platform that they use. How many of them know that this movie actually comes out a year from now?
I mean, if they're buying the ticket, I would hope.
I would
that
hope so.
everyone
I would
knew.
hope so. Yeah.
I mean, they made that pretty crystal clear what you were buying when you're on the website and all the promotional material. And you know, it's Christopher Nolan. Like, if anything, and what is exciting about Christopher Nolan garnering this kind of interest, and it was the same thing with Oppenheimer. Who would have thought that a movie about Robert Oppenheimer would garner the kind of reaction that it did? I mean, it made almost $1 billion, and of course, there's a lot more that goes into it besides.
I mean, yeah. The
Robert-
person that knew. I mean, the person that knew it was going to be a success was Barbie.
Exactly. The Barbenheimer of it all certainly helped. But that film in these same IMAX 70 millimeter screens, I mean, I did see it in 2023, but it was really hard to get a ticket.
Sure.
It like that the Fort Lauderdale one close to me, like Oppenheimer, every showing was sold out for weeks and months. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. So I do think that a movie like The Odyssey could do the same. And I do find that refreshing and hopeful that we're still able to get these kinds of movies, these mythical epics that aren't the Avengers and the Supermans of the world. And I'm not against the superhero genre at all, but
No, I'm not
it is
either.
nice to get these kind of movies that can garner that kind of interest, which is why I don't blame Nolan for the attempt. They are trying to create buzz for The Odyssey.
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job, because one thing that they're doing with this release, or at least the marketing of it, that I love to see, and I think it goes back to a time when movie promotional material was just at a different stage, where nothing was just released online so early. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the trailer for The Odyssey, which played before many special movies and special screenings, that's not even online yet. I don't even think it's online yet. I don't think they ever released it.
I think it's just in theaters.
Yeah. And I think I heard that apparently for those who go to see Fantastic Four rather early, there will be a special trailer screening of Avatar Fire and Ash. I like that we're getting more into this kind of nostalgic trend.
Let's do this again.
I like this. But I think this goes back to something we've talked about a lot, is that moviegoers, especially critics, but I think moviegoers as well, maybe they're not as widely spoken as we are, they're yearning for something familiar about what movies used to be. And I think they secretly are. And I think part of that also goes back into how these films are marketed, how they're promoted, how they're put out there. I think there's something to that.
I think that's really exciting. I've noted this on the show before, but whenever I go to the movies, I show up as late as possible, because one, they play 30 minutes of commercials and trailers, and it's way too much.
I saw a great video of someone. It's a funny video that was on either like Instagram or TikTok or something like that, of a guy going to the movie theater saying, "I would like to buy a movie ticket." The attendant says, "Okay, do you want a regular movie with ads or a regular movie without ads?" He goes, "Without ads." He goes, "Okay, that'd be $2,000. He goes, "Okay, no, with ads. Okay, it'll be $5, and you get 30 minutes of ads."
It's so ridiculous. I hate it. I
don't like it either.
And it's real disappointing, because my AMC, before the new mandate that they're going to do 30 minutes of ads, like they had cut it down to about 15 minutes. I was like, oh my God, my AMC is killing it. I love it here. You guys are the best. And then AMC had to implement that stupid new mandate, and now it's 30 minutes again. And I can't stand it. At any rate, that aside, the other reason I show up late is because I see these trailers over and over and over and over and over again, because they're released online. I watch them online once, maybe twice, depending on the film. So when I'm in the theater, I don't need to see it 12, 15 other times. And so I show up late, or if I'm even there, I put on my headphones and I'm watching videos or I'm listening to music, and I am completely zonked out. I'm not watching the screen. I'm not paying attention to trailers at all. This would change that behavior a little bit for me if I'm going to the theater and I haven't seen these trailers before. They're brand new. Yeah, that'll get me to take out my earbuds. That'll get me to pay attention to the screen.
Seeing them for the first time in that environment completely changes things. It changes the hype level.
100%. Which is what I enjoyed about the Odyssey trailer more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's not revealing.
The anticipation of it. Yeah.
Like there's not much to the trailer, but it was just the anticipation. It was something new. I hadn't seen it before. It was Christopher Nolan. Like that was enough to get me hyped. The trailer
could have sucked, and it still could have been enjoyable to watch because of the environment.
Exactly. So if they're doing that for Avatar, I will be paying attention during the trailers. Let's just say that. I'm going to be paying attention.
I would too. If it was all like that, I wouldn't be complaining as much if I show up to a movie like Superman, which has an 11:20 a.m. showing, and the movie itself starts at 12:10 p.m. That's like 50 minutes of ads and trailers. I'm not even kidding. That's what it was. And one of them was for the Odyssey, which I had already seen before because I went to see Jurassic World Rebirth where it originally played during. So, like, that's just ridiculous.
50 minutes is unacceptable.
I agree. I agree.
That it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You gotta stop.
I won't mention what theater chain it was, but I will say I've never had that happen before. Normally it's 20 to 30 minutes, but here it was 50. I've never seen that happen before. It's honestly just disrespectful to everyone's time.
Yeah, I would never go back. I wouldn't go back unless I absolutely had to.
Yeah.
It was the end of the world, and that's the only place I could go. Like, I'm just, no, thank you.
You could save the world by sitting through these 50 minutes of ads.
Exactly. It's going to take a Herculean effort like that for me to go. Absolutely insane. Anyway, the whole Odyssey discourse this morning was also crazy in conjunction with the Coldplay affair viral video memes that were happening. It was insane. And then we get to tonight, and I want to spend a little bit of time here before we get to our real top 5, which I haven't even revealed. I guess I'm just going to keep it a surprise.
I know. Seriously.
I mean, you've seen the title of this episode, so you probably already know what it is anyway.
That's true. Yeah, we're not too cryptic about that.
However, and I try not to get political on this show, and I'll do my best not to get in too much of a rabbit hole. And this, in all transparency, has nothing to do with film. This is strictly personal and me venting because I'm furious as we are recording this. So if you want to skip ahead to the top 5, you can. But I want to rant about this Stephen Colbert situation.
Oh my gosh.
I am utterly furious at this. And most of you know, especially because this episode is going to be released some days after the fact. But just in case you are living your life correctly and living under a rock and you're not on social media at all. God bless you.
Seriously, stay away.
Stephen Colbert, the late show, with Stephen Colbert has been canceled and will end next May. Yeah. CBS is calling this a quote unquote financial decision, which we all know is utter horseshit because 2 days ago, as we are recording this, he did a show where he called out CBS and Skydance and Paramount for essentially succumbing to Trump's interrogation and paying him out $60 million. Trump bullied them and they paid him, and Colbert called them out. That was 2 days ago, again, as we are recording this. And today, the ratings leader in late night television is being canceled over a quote unquote financial decision. That is utterly cowardly.
Who is this? David? Is this CBS, David Zaslav?
It is whoever is in charge. Cowards, a bunch
Sure,
of
sure.
cowards. And I am absolutely furious about all of this. Bowing to Trump as they're going through this merger, it is a political favor in every single way, and people are losing jobs over all of this. One of the best, in my opinion anyway, one of the best late night shows there is going
it's one of the
away.
better ones on right now. Absolutely. I'd say
Yeah.
of all the main hosts out there in some talk show format, Stephen Colbert is in the upper tier for sure.
100%.
Yeah. And so this whole thing just reads, whether it be political, whatever it is, this whole thing reads of censorship. It reads it's a complete disregard of freedom of speech is what this is. It's a silencing act. And that
Yes.
is what we don't want to see on any spectrum at all. Like everyone should have the right to voice their opinions, regardless of who's funding those opinions, right? Like that's the whole point of that.
Yep. They are being censored. They are being canceled, literally canceled, because of Colbert, again, in my opinion, speaking truth about his bosses, about the company that hosts his show. And that takes a lot of courage to call out your bosses over something they did. But I think he had every right to, given that, again, they were cowards in all of this and bowing to Trump and paying that money. And then to cancel the show 2 days later, it screams of petty insecurity. These, I'm assuming, men, probably white men, all of them, at the top of that tower. And I don't know if it's, because there's the merger going on, so I don't know exactly who is calling these shots exactly. But whoever it is, weak. It is absolutely soft.
Yeah, it's a silencing act. It's annoying. I do wonder, because this news that we're talking about here right now, this is fresh. We only first found out about this a few hours ago as we're recording this, if I'm not mistaken, the news of the cancellation, right? I do wonder how the other networks, and most notably these other talk show hosts, such as Jimmy Kimmel, for instance, are going to react. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them stand in solidarity alongside Stephen Colbert and something.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I like, put it this way. This is, whether or not the show ends up getting canceled or not is kind of beside the point. We're not hearing the end of this just yet, as far as the ramifications of this. This is going to lead to something.
No. I do think late night TV has been, generally, it's been in some trouble.
It's struggling
for a while. The ratings across the board, it's not a Colbert specific thing. Late night TV across the board, the ratings are way down comparatively to where they were 2 decades ago. But that is complemented by the numbers they do online. And a lot of Colbert's videos, a lot of the late night, it's not just Colbert, but a lot of them do millions of views on YouTube, let alone the numbers that they may get on TikTok and other places. Like that's where it's at. That's why these shows have honestly still been going. John Oliver has joked for a while now that his show would have been canceled if not for all the awards they win.
Yeah, seriously.
So, like late night television is heading towards a death. I don't know if I saw it coming this soon. Colbert might simply be the first of several to go. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more coming, maybe sooner rather than later, as far as late night goes.
To try to manipulate this into convincing people that it truly was a quote unquote financial decision, right? But even so, like to your point, late night television has been struggling. But I think the unfortunate thing is these networks and the creative teams behind them have not really done the work to find out how to adapt to this changing market. And really find a new home, whether it be transferring to a different type of network or a different type of platform, because I think there's still a time and place for the format of late night television. It's just a matter of how that format is communicated that I don't think they've done the right work in defining where that new home could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's still effective on social media.
Exactly.
So I don't like, as much as I say it's struggling in terms of television ratings, and it is. It very, very much is in that regard, but it's also still extremely viable in terms of the social clips that you get out of it. So like it's effective, and that will absolutely prolong the death of late night TV for sure. But to your point, they are simply going to use those statistics. They're going to twist that. Oh, the like late night is struggling. There's some sort of financial hurdle there. We're going to have to cancel it, but it is viable. It is viable in terms of how they can profit from the social marketability of it.
Yeah.
But they're going to cancel these shows really for censorship purposes. At least in Colbert's case, it's certainly for censorship purposes. When
it really seems so. Yeah. There's no other way around that.
And it sucks. It absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
And I need to vent because I think it's
a good dude.
Bullshit.
He's a good Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, I do love Stephen. Bring back the Colbert Report, I guess.
I'd be fine with that.
You know, Jon Stewart went back to the Daily Show.
He did,
might as well. So.
Tried his hand at a few other things, then went back home. I mean, a lot of people boomerang. A lot of people boomerang back to their homes.
Exactly. We'll get to the top 5 here in a moment. I do also want to note, off the heels of our Superman discussion, and I do hope people go and check out that review. We had a really, really fun time talking about Superman. And on last week's show, we talked a little bit about DC and Superman as well, and where we think the new DCU is going. So I think off the heels of that, it's worth mentioning here that Wonder Woman is now being fast-tracked in the DCU. And I think that's interesting because last week we were talking about, okay, here's where the DCU sits right now. And it was interesting because outside of Superman, all of the big names that we especially saw in the DCEU have been put on the back burner. We don't, like, we speculated when or if they may come into this world. So I do think it's interesting that we're, like, I think I said something along the lines of maybe they'll come at whatever the phase 2 of this looks like for the DCU. And lo and behold, here comes Wonder Woman down the road. So again, I don't know if they're going to call them phases or how it's going to all work. They just, the report is that it's being fast tracked. So I don't know what that means. Is it coming in 2027? Is that what that means? 2028? I don't know.
What I hope it means, I think if anything, maybe it's just an announcement that they're working on it, but it sounds like they're making it seem like there's more urgency to it just to keep the momentum and marketability of the DCU given the success of Superman. I still wouldn't be surprised if when we do get a new Wonder Woman movie, it could still be like 5 or 6 years down the road. If anything, maybe this is more of a, let's reveal that we are officially working on this. And I think it makes sense out of all of the heroes in the DC universe, whether it be ones that we've seen before, ones that we haven't, I think Wonder Woman makes the most sense. Primarily because Wonder Woman as a character has been the one that, at least given our bubbles on social media, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, JD, it's the one that I feel like most people have already been hypothesizing who would be a great new Wonder Woman, which actress would be a great, like the fan casting is already in talks. So it seems like that's the one that has the most likely traction to target next to keep that momentum going. So that's why I think it makes sense. I'm not surprised to hear this news. As to when it comes out, I still wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being like 5 or 6 years down the road. If anything, maybe this just ends up being an acknowledgement of sorts from James Gunn and Safran.
Yeah. It's also worth noting as well that an announcement of Wonder Woman, the fact that this is in development, doesn't mean too much yet, because some of these announcements that they've made have fallen through. Yeah. For example, the Luca Guadagnino film, I don't think that's in development anymore.
I think that's been shelved. Yeah.
That one's been shelved. So the same thing could happen to Wonder Woman in another 6 months, another year. Who knows? Who's to
I
say?
think this is where the pressure of Warner Brothers is coming in to rear its ugly head. Remember when James Gunn gave that official announcement of the birth of the DCU? I think he called the first. He didn't use the word phase, but he called the first chapter "Gods and Monsters" or something like that.
Yeah.
Even then, I bet he was put under pressure to reveal something, but it was such a half-baked announcement because they really don't have anything planned out yet. And I still think they're kind of sitting in this limbo trying to figure things out, which I would rather them sit in and not plan something too concretely that ends up getting changed down the line like Marvel's been doing. So we need to see what works. I want to see what happens with Supergirl next year. And apparently Clayface is the next one. Maybe Swamp Thing. I don't know. But I like these different avenues. And then, okay, maybe it makes sense to bring Wonder Woman into the fold to bring some more familiarity back into it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious if this changes anything as far as this new chapter 1 goes. It might be a half-baked idea. I mean, you can always change titles later. We've seen that with films even, let alone phases, chapters.
Yeah, seriously.
So, as far as the chapter titles go, and there's still several films even within chapter 1 that's in limbo. The Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing in particular. We don't know if we're going to get those movies. Maybe in lieu of those, we'll get a Wonder Woman. Who knows? Maybe an Aquaman movie will be fast-tracked. I don't know. But I do think, given the success of Superman and knowing what fans are familiar with character-wise, I would not be surprised if Warner Brothers brass is pressuring James Gunn to do those movies quicker, and they're going to be really reserved about a Swamp Thing movie. Because especially if Clayface comes out and it doesn't do very well, then I don't know if I want to put resources into a Swamp Thing, but I will an Aquaman because people know who that is.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you're right. We only really know of Superman and Supergirl as far as film is concerned. What else do we know of? I guess Peacemaker, the show Peacemaker, isn't really DCU, but apparently season 2 is going to reveal how the DCEU connects into the DCU, according to James Gunn, which
I don't know if we want to give any spoilers to anything in Superman, but
no, we don't have to say anything here. I'm just saying
there's a certain cameo in Superman as it relates to what you're talking about.
I still can't explain it, but I'm curious to see how James Gunn is going to explain it.
Yeah, so because like his Suicide Squad movie is technically DCEU, right?
That's what I understand. Yeah.
So none of that might even it might not matter to the new DCU. But I don't know. Maybe some of it does. I don't know.
I'm curious.
We'll see.
I just hope it's not another multiversal explanation.
Might be. No, I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think it's gonna be multi. No, he'll find a way to contrive it. I'm sure he's smart. He's a good writer. He'll figure it out. I'm sure.
He'll make it playful. I'm sure.
Last thing, and then we'll move on. Did you? I don't know if you got a chance to see this yet, but since we're on the superhero kick, did you get a chance to see Ironheart by chance?
No, I haven't seen a single episode of it, but yet I know the big thing that happens in the final episode.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. I would like to have, I don't want to, not necessarily a larger discussion on it, but some discussion on Ironheart, because it's one of those Marvel shows where on one hand, they do things that make me cheer and get out of my seat, and then in the very next scene, I want to punch a hole in my wall. Like it is.
So basically, it
wild.
Sounds like a Marvel show.
It's a Marvel show. It is.
See, this is why I don't.
Marvel show,
this is why I can't watch them anymore, because I feel like I get the exact same outcome from them, and that's what's unfortunate about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, what I would do if I was given one of these is that I would do the anti-Moana or anti-Lilo and Stitch, in the sense that those were conceived as shows that then went to be a film.
Yeah.
I think I would do the opposite. I would make a movie, like a full on 2 hours, 210 movie, edited as a movie, and then cut that up however you want into 6 episodes.
Well, I mean,
because
many great films start out as 4 or 5 hour projects that get edited down into movies. There's your show right there.
I mean, because like the way they do it now as a 6 episode format, it doesn't work at all. I don't think you can treat these like as 6 episodes. It doesn't work. It just full on doesn't. You need to either create an actual television series and extend this beyond the 6 episodes, or take that 212. Let's say the movie is 212, and you cut that down into 6 episodes.
Yeah,
that still might be jarring as a viewing exercise, but it would be at least there would be a rhythm and a format, especially if you binge it and you watch it back to back to back. At least it would make a lot more sense.
I agree.
Because the way they have it now, it's not working. And a lot of Ironheart, like the biggest criticism I have of Ironheart more, and I feel like you feel this in Ironheart more than the others, even though what I'm about to say is applicable to the other shows as well. Ironheart is 6 episodes of setup to whatever's going to happen to Riri in the next movie. That's all that it is. That's nothing more than that.
That is so unfortunate.
There is no arc to the character. We have to get to an ending where she has a scene with a certain Marvel character that I guess I won't spoil for people that haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
but a lot of you know who I'm talking about.
It's all over, the internet,
and it's all over Twitter. Like it's just 6 episodes to get her from A to B. That's it. So there's no trajectory. There's no arc for the character. It's just we got to make a connection, and we got to have a series. It can't just be a one-off scene. And honestly, it would have worked better as those shorts. Like you remember those shorts they used to do? Those like 5-minute like offshoot.
What, like werewolf
short films?
Yeah, the werewolf show, or like that one you mean? Or
no, like I mean like true like the one with the Iron Man 3 one.
Oh, like Thor, like there was one about Thor, the one shots.
Yeah, the one shots. I think Ironheart would have worked better as a one shot where you just have Riri off the heels of what happened with her in Wakanda Forever, and she just meets up with said final character, and it's just a 10-minute. That's who she meets up with, and he gets her to do her. They make their little meeting. They have their connection, and then off she goes. Because honestly, it would have saved everyone's time, and you don't have to worry about all the mess that is Ironheart.
Basically, you're saying something that was 200 minutes or so should have been reduced down to 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. Because
wow.
And look, that's not to say that there aren't compelling things about Ironheart. I think the performance by Dominique Thorne is great. She's fantastic. There are really nice emotional beats throughout. The soundtrack is great.
Okay.
But those emotional beats don't lead to any sort of arc. They're just a series of sequences that fill in gaps or fill in time. Not so much gaps.
That's unfortunate.
They might give us some backstory on who she was prior to how we met her in Wakanda Forever, but they lead to nothing. It's like she doesn't grow. She doesn't learn. Like the choice that she makes in that final episode, it like completely undermines everything that you would think a character would learn given what she experiences.
So basically, they turn this into a 6-episode introduction to a character for a character that already had a shoehorned introduction in another movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, we do learn more about her, to be fair, like her family, her best friend, like like where she comes from. Like we learn more about her, but we learn facts. I feel like the emotion of it all is suppressed because we have to have her connect to another character at the end.
Yeah, it's not like in Superman, right, where we got a sense of a history between Clark Kent and Lois Lane in the new Superman movie without telling us what that history was. It was about sensing that. And here, I guess, is a property that's telling us all that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of telling for sure. And
Gotcha.
I think if the final scene with said character ended differently, I don't know if we would be having this conversation. Because she, without spoiling it, she does experience things. She makes a lot of mistakes. The one thing I do appreciate about Ironheart is that they do not make Riri out to be this flawless heroine.
That's cool.
More often than not, she's making the wrong mistake or she's making the wrong move and making a big mistake.
Yeah.
So like I appreciate that she's extremely flawed, but some of that is still like it wants to ride this line of she's a genius. She's the genius Riri Williams, but everything she does is kind of dumb. Like it feels like there's a huge gap between her brain as I'm a school nerd, really smart person, and when I'm being Ironheart, I don't know what I'm doing. And some of that is compelling, but some of it is also frustrating. But like regardless of any of that, like I say all that to say she experiences a lot. She goes through a lot. So when she gets to that final scene at the end of the film, you would think, given those experiences, that she has matured, that she, that she's going to use those experiences, use that emotion, use that growth to better herself as a person and as this Ironheart heroine. Nope. That's not what happens. That's not what happens. You could literally watch, like, you could watch none of this show. Like, just watch Wakanda Forever, go watch the final scene at the end of this film, and you as far as trajectory goes, as far as growth goes, arc goes, you miss nothing.
So does this show take place after Wakanda Forever?
Yes. Yeah.
So she's already been through a lot of stuff in that movie, only to then go through a lot of...
What she speaks to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I haven't seen it, but the way you're talking about it, it seems like it's heightening the issues we've been complaining about with these Marvel shows for the past 5 years. Like it's doubling down on them.
Yeah. Let me just put it this way. Let's say you watch that first Iron Man again. And he goes into the cave and he has that great connection. I forget the character's name, but he has a great connection there. And he realizes that as a billionaire, he's made all these mistakes and he's got to change. Like becoming Iron Man changes him as a person. And he's going to use that to now be good. I'm going to fight these evils that I helped create. That is what the film sets up to be the growth of Tony in that film, right?
Yeah.
But the end of the film is, I'm just going to be a billionaire and I'm just going to sell arms too.
It's like, I like my weapons.
I like my weapons.
I like my
guns.
guns.
Sell them to all these groups anyway. Like that's pretty much what this does.
My gosh.
It's wild. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
So not the circular arc that we tend to compliment movies doing. This is just bad writing.
I think it's just bad writing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
the filler of it all, there are compelling moments. I don't want to completely disregard that. There are compelling moments, but it's all meaningless. It means nothing given the final scene of the film. Like,
well, I guess I'm not going to watch it. I guess I'm not going to watch it now. Yeah, I'm not going to watch
honestly,
it now.
like, I just watched the final scene,
which I've seen. I know what happens.
Okay. Then you're caught up. You're caught up. That's it. All right. So I noted at the top of the show that I am going to be traveling this week as this goes out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be traveling internationally, but a lot of people are.
Yeah. You don't necessarily need a new SIM card, but some people do.
I don't. But if you're going to travel internationally, you're going to need a new SIM card. And as we all know, roaming fees they can rack up if you're not careful. Normal SIM cards are overwhelming. They can be costly. You don't want to be caught up at the airport trying to figure out how to remove a SIM card from your phone and having to deal with all of that. That's why we love Saley. And you got to check them out. It's an innovative eSIM that helps reduce and eliminate roaming fees completely.
Yeah.
It's extremely easy to use. It's affordable. And Saley has data plans for virtually any country in the world.
Yeah, makes everything convenient, safe for you to travel. As you mentioned, JD, when you're at the airport, you don't want to wait in line for a local SIM card there. Plus, it allows you to avoid scammers who might be trying to sell you a fake SIM card. Everything here is online for you to work with. You don't have to wander looking for a public Wi-Fi spot either, because with this eSIM, you're always connected. You don't even need to activate your eSIM because it will automatically activate when you reach your destination. Unlimited data plans. You never have to worry about running out of data. And if that all wasn't well and good enough, Saley is built by Nord Security. So your privacy is going to be protected all the time.
Yeah. And as I noted, you can get a data plan for pretty much any country around the world, 190 countries. The app is available on iOS and Android. You don't ever have to reinstall your eSIM. Simply choose a plan and you're good to go. They have chat support available 24/7. You'll get a full refund if your device isn't compatible, and you can get 5% off with our code. Click on the link in the description and it'll take you right to the data plans. At checkout, use the code ISF5. Again, that code is ISF5 at checkout for 5% off your eSIM plan. Go check them out, and we appreciate Saley for their support. All right, Brendan, coffee time. It is coffee time.
Just hearing the word makes me salivate.
It is remarkable. We love our friends over at Coffee Cult because they source specialty grade coffee. It is the best coffee on the planet. The top 2 specialty coffees, that's what they roast. That's what they source. It is incredible. You don't need to have any additives to these coffees. They are incredible on their own. So if you're looking for a natural coffee or an organic coffee that has remarkable notes of blueberry or cherry or orange, you can get that. Or if you want something more nutty and oaty and chocolatey, they have that as well. Right now, because they are doing Christmas in July.
Oh, the best time of year.
As we are recording this, depending on when you listen to it, there are 2 sales available. They have a Coffee Cult loot box. If you go today, you can get the loot box, and that is 50% off. It comes with a 12-ounce coffee and a black Coffee Cult mug. Makes for a great gift for yourself or for someone else. That is 15% off. Normal retail price is $29.99. You can get it for $15.99. So you get a really great deal. But that loot box is only available for a limited time. But coming this week, I think on Thursday, as this episode goes out, my favorite coffee that they have, the Holiday Blend, is coming back for Christmas in July.
Heck yeah.
And
Heck yeah.
This coffee is incredible. I urge everyone to go and check it out. It's my favorite coffee on the planet by far.
It's
I absolutely
certainly
adore
one of mine
it.
as well. Yeah, it is so good.
It's
so good.
so good. It's only going to be available for the last week of the month. So you'll want to check it out, and you can get that coffee at, you can get it at 15% off with our code ISF25. Get that at 15% off. Our code is not going to be applicable for the loot box because that's already 50% off on its own. But the holiday plan or the holiday blend, you can use our code ISF25. That'll get you 15% off that coffee. And it is to die for. It is really, really great. I urge everyone to go and check it out. Again, it's only available for a week, so make sure you get on that. So coffeecult.com, that's coffee with a K, cult with a K, coffeecult.com at checkout. Use the code ISF25 and you'll get 15% off your coffee order, including the holiday blend. So go and check it out. You're going to love it. And we thank Coffee Cult for their support. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our top 5, which we have not announced on the show.
There's more important matters to talk about. Yeah, let's get into the actual meat of this and talk about some really cool movies.
Let's talk about some really good movies. We are talking about our top 5 neo-Western movies inspired by Eddington, hitting theaters this weekend. So we're going to talk about neo-Westerns.
Yeah.
Let's start off here, Brendan. What is a neo-Western? How are you defining neo-Western?
Well, first off, I love your definition of it based on the text chain that we had.
Yeah. Yeah, to be clear, and maybe I can, for the people in the video, maybe I'll, if I can remember, I'll try to put up a screenshot here. I set Brendan, I think it was an AI image of Keanu Reeves dressed up as a cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
And so
it's a neo-Western.
Like, neo-Western.
And it's like Matrix 5 looks awesome.
Exactly, yeah. I thought it was funny. So, yeah.
It was great. It was
that
great.
That was my response. But yeah,
that
neo-Western. What do you got?
That is not how I'm defining a neo-Western, although I think that movie looks really cool. I feel like in my research, I feel like some people have 2 different definitions of what a neo-Western could be. Is it a Western made, is it a modern day made Western, or is it a Western style movie that takes place in modern day? And I feel like I've seen both. I'm going with the latter. I'm going with what people tend to consider like a contemporary Western, a movie that has Western aesthetics, maybe Western themes and Western ideals, but it's set not in the Old West. It's set in a more modern, contemporary America. It doesn't necessarily need to be like this decade necessarily. Like you could go back maybe to the 1960s or 1970s, but it's not the Old West. It's a more modern technological world that we're familiar with, but still utilizes the Western genre in a way to tell its more modern story. Because in many ways, these great Westerns, while they took place in very different times, more desolate times, they tapped into some very universal themes that are still true today. And I think neo-Westerns are trying to capitalize on that idea, but in a modern, more familiar landscape, a more familiar sense of place. And I wanted to focus on that side of things.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And that is a big part of my criteria as well. The modern contemporary setting with those old traditional Western tropes implemented within that contemporary setting. However, one of the other definitions that I came across for neo-Western is Westerns, classic Westerns, old Westerns that may, from a time period setting, also take place in the Old West, but the tropes and the drama and the violence, they come with these giant twists and subversions.
Okay.
So, for example, the classic example of this is Unforgiven. Unforgiven, a film that obviously takes place in the Old West, but is unlike any other Western that we had seen at that time in 1992 when that film came out.
It was a deconstruction of the Western
complete
trope.
deconstruction.
So it may not be a literal modern day Western, but it's a thematic modern day interpretation of it. Yeah,
exactly. So I did consider both of those.
Okay.
I'd probably put a little bit more weight on your major criteria, the contemporary setting criteria.
Okay.
But I didn't want to completely disregard the time period because there are a few films in my top 5 that I really love that honestly I just haven't had a chance to talk about much on the show before, especially in a top 5 setting. So I wanted to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think this topic specifically is going to allow us to reach for films we may not have necessarily had on a top 5 before.
Yeah,
which I think is really interesting. And the fact that you're not fully disregarding movies that still take place in the Old West like I am, we might have some good variety to talk about here.
I think so. I think so as well. The other question that I have for you as far as criteria goes,
Okay.
what are we going to do about the year 2007?
Yeah, because there are quite a few Westerns that came out that year. I could tell you right now, one of them is currently in my top 3.
Okay.
Or top 5. Or, I mean, top
Well,
5. One of them is in my top
yes.
3, actually.
Because there are 3 major Westerns, neo-Westerns, from that year that we have talked about a lot here on the show. So
Well,
I didn't know if we were going to consider them. And Brendan and I, in all transparency, did not talk about this prior to the recording here.
We're going
which
off
is
the cuff
why
here.
We're doing it now. So I have 2 lists here. I have one that includes them and one that doesn't, because honestly, I wasn't sure where we wanted to go.
Well, I will say this, JD, given my criteria where I'm only focusing on contemporary settings for my picks, I think it's pretty easy to decipher which film from 2007 I'm probably going to include.
Well, yeah. Like, I mean, knowing how you feel about 2007, we just did our best films of the 21st century so far.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert for those who haven't listened to that show yet, 2007 was represented on both of our lists, but especially high on Brendan's list. So yeah, I know at the very least 2 films that could easily make your top 5 here. The one, if you only picked one, I certainly know which one it is, but I think there are 3 that, especially if I'm just looking at it as like from a pure perspective, like forget criteria.
Oh, yeah.
All 3 of them could end up on top 5. I think they're that good.
From a pure general Western perspective, maybe you can even say 4, right? Because I'll reveal this one because it's not on my list and it might not be on yours. Wasn't that also the same year as James Mangold's 3:10 to Yuma?
Yes, I believe that is the case.
So more than 3 great Westerns that year, regardless of whether they were contemporary set or not.
Exactly. So that's what I just bring it up because we've talked about them on the show before. 2 of them we've done full reviews for, and I imagine the 3rd one is on the way. Well, I'm sure we'll shoehorn in a time and place for it.
Yeah.
Look, it's deserving of a conversation. I'm sure we'll find a time, but just because we've talked about it before, I wasn't sure. That's what I just wanted to ask. That's all.
Well, I will say there is a film from 2007 that I have chosen to include in my top 5.
Okay, then I will do this. I will kind of merge my 2.
Okay.
I will just use one. So that will be the last part of my criteria. Then I will only take one of those 2007 films.
Okay.
I will put the other 2 in the honorable mentions.
In the penalty box? Okay, that's fair.
In the penalty box.
Okay.
Okay. With that said, then let's get into this. Number 5. What do you got at number 5?
All right, my number 5, I kind of have 3 picks tied for number 5, but I'll pick one of them. The reason why I have these 3 films sort of collectively tied here is because I wanted to at least pick one film that is sort of ambiguous with how it morphs these genre conventions of a Western. In many ways, we've seen movies, modern movies, that have aspects of the Western genre, but it's more there to kind of play with it a bit and maybe use it as inspiration for something even more unique. And I have a few films here that do that, but my number 5... I'm curious to see what you think about this one. You might say, no, Brendan, this is not a Western. You can't include this. My number 5 is Kill Bill Volume 2.
I have this at number 2.
Wow. Okay, so you do agree with this. This is awesome.
Yep. It is number 2 on my list.
Well, let's talk about it. And for the record, the other 2 movies I was toying with to be my number 5 that kind of play with the tropes of Westerns in a very kind of thematic way. The other one was Jordan Peele's Nope. And the other one was The Rover, the David Michôd film as well. But Kill Bill Volume 2 I went with primarily because, and we've talked about this when we did our 2004 retrospective, we talked about it many times offline and even online. This is the 2000s versions of Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. It is a reinterpretation of that movie's central thesis on violence being the thing that corrupts the soul.
Yes.
This is a movie, Kill Bill Volume 2, that is about a killer who no longer wants to be a killer. And aesthetically speaking, there's a good chunk of the first half of this movie that is relishing in Western-like aesthetics. It feels like a Western film, which I think is very appropriate in distinguishing Volume 2 from its counterpart, Volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
I know Quentin Tarantino himself often says this is one movie. I love him. It's his art. He can say whatever he wants about his own art. I don't agree with that. This is two movies. These are two separate movies because they are doing completely different things where one is meant to completely deconstruct the other that came before it. Kill Bill Volume 1 is a film that relishes in samurai violence. It's a samurai film through and through. Volume 2 is about saying how that is something that we're trying to move away from. It's there to work as a yin and yang. It's perpendicular. That's the whole point here. And I love how Volume 2 is utilizing the tropes of not just classic Westerns, but also more modern day Westerns like Unforgiven to reinterpret those themes in this type of setting. And I think thematically, it very much is a modern day Western.
Yeah. We have talked about this before when we did the retrospective in the year this came out. Was that 2004?
It was 2004. Yeah.
4? Yeah.
The year that we basically had the exact same top 10.
Yeah, we both had this on our list, and we talked about that specifically. You mentioned that this was Tarantino's Unforgiven, and I completely agree with that sentiment. It is a deconstruction on violence and utilizing motherhood as the vehicle to examine that in Kiddo, I think is absolutely brilliant. And you couple that with the soundtrack that is straight from a spaghetti Western, and you have this lawless world, much like we see in the Old West, a world of lawlessness, pursuing justice and violence and revenge, but of course, in a contemporary way, much like Unforgiven, it wants to subvert that to be something that is wholly different from Kill Bill Volume 1, which is why I also agree with you. They're two very different movies.
Yeah.
And it's why I really, really love Kill Bill Volume 2 and why it's number 2 on this list for me, because I love how it, in every single way, despite being this samurai movie on the surface in terms of aesthetic, and when you look at its tropes and the mechanics of the writing and its deconstruction, it's way more like a Western. And I love that in the film.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
All it's doing is replacing guns with samurai swords. That's basically all it's doing. And even the whole segment where the bride, Beatrix Kiddo, played by Uma Thurman, is training with Paime, it still feels kind of Sergio Leone-esque. Even though it's very much a sequence that could have been easily ripped out of a classic kung fu movie, aesthetically, it still feels very much like the spaghetti Westerns that have always influenced Tarantino. Like aesthetically, it feels very much like a Western. The whole movie does.
Exactly, yeah. Replacing guns with swords, it is the antithesis to the 90s Romeo and Juliet.
There it is.
Which is to say I agree.
Great movie.
Okay, so that is your number 5, my number 2. I will note that my number 5, and this is why I wanted to emphasize a certain time period, because this is a movie that I really, really love. It's in my top 5 for its year. And if memory serves, I could be wrong. I did not have time to go through the entire InSession Film archive. It might have made a list long ago, but it's not a movie I've talked about too often, and this is a great opportunity. And number 5 for me is Kelly Reichardt's Meek's Cut Off.
Okay, great movie.
A film that I really love. And despite the time period, it's essentially the Oregon Trail, but it's not like the video game. It's not like the video game.
I miss that video game. Your player has died of dysentery.
That does not pop up in this movie.
That does not. No, it's a Kelly Reichardt version of that.
Yeah, it's Kelly Reichardt. So if you know her films, you kind of know what to expect, although this is earlier on in her career. And she doesn't dabble into genre much, which is partially why I find this film so fascinating. and why it cracks this list for me, because despite her films being mostly genreless, here's a movie where she takes a lot of those old Western themes and re-envisions them in this really internalized, methodical way that is also told primarily through the eyes of women. And it reframes the traditionally male-dominated version of these movies. And there's a grounded realism to it. There's certainly a lot to love about the film aesthetically, in terms of its tension, its brooding tones, as it shows us survival and isolation in those times. But the way this film tackles the Western, not just the Western tropes, but that whole idea of moving out west and the promise of moving out west, which so much of this country, in terms of its lore, is founded on. This is a film that just completely re-envisions that in a new and different way. It's ambiguous. There's a lot of uncertainty. Again, it's very internalized, and how the film kind of flips that idea of masculinity here is done in a very contemporary way that is very unlike the traditional Western movie from yesteryear. So I love it. Very applicable to what we're talking about here, I think, despite the time period. So it's my number 5.
Yeah, the time period is pretty much why it didn't quite make my list. But I think if I were to consider Westerns that still took place in olden times in some way, I would consider a movie like this for sure, because like Unforgiven, it's a modern interpretation, a modern lens of these classic tropes. And certainly one of Kelly Reichardt's better movies, I think. I think it's between this and First Cow. Coincidentally, her 2 Westerns, right? Probably her 2 best directed movies.
First Cow is another one that
kind of comes to mind for this, right?
Here.
Yeah, kind of does, actually. Great movie. Love that movie so much. But yeah, she's doing a lot of things that feel very thematically modern, even if it is taking place in another time period. So it's kind of the inverse of my criteria in some ways, which I think makes it a very valuable pick. And its themes on masculinity, I think, actually transition quite nicely into my number 4 pick. I don't want to talk too much about my number 4 because I don't think you've seen this film, JD. So I don't want to speak too much about it.
Okay.
Have you seen the 1996 film Lone Star from director John Sayles?
I don't think so, but
it features Chris Cooper, Matthew McConaughey, Joe Morton, Chris Christopherson, Elizabeth Pena. It's a crime mystery movie about a dead sheriff that's discovered. So I don't.
Well, I like the 90s. Weird time for me.
Sure.
For a lot of reasons. Obviously, I grew up in the 90s, and this genre especially is going to be fascinating to me as the years go on and more we catch up with 90s movies. Yeah. Because I'm a kid in the 90s, but my parents are still watching adult films.
Sure.
I've seen images from a lot of these films that are still vivid in my mind, but some of them I don't know where they come from. One of them, funny enough, as I was doing some research for this episode, Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
The movie that I saw on some list.
Yeah, the Robert Rodriguez film.
Yeah, I've never really seen that movie as an adult. However, I have seen that film as a kid. There are images from that I remember my dad watching. So like there are things I remember about the film just aesthetically, but I've never seen it really.
You're familiar with some of its visual choices, some of its language there.
Yeah, exactly. So is Lone Star another one of those? Like if I was to watch it, I'd be like, oh, I remember that scene or I remember that image, maybe. But I don't think I've seen it. I
think maybe at the very least you might recognize some of the artwork for it because it was put on the Criterion Collection not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. And again, this is a film I love, which is why it's on my list. I'm admittedly kind of a novice when it comes to John Sayles as a director. I think I've only seen this film and his baseball drama, 8 Men Out. but that's really about it. But he seems like a very interesting filmmaker. Yeah, I definitely want to check out more of his stuff. But this is a movie that has two different time periods. The current time period features Sheriff Sam Deeds, played by Chris Cooper. His father is actually played by Matthew McConaughey in the 1950s timeline that involved a corrupt sheriff played by Chris Christopherson, who mysteriously disappeared along with $10,000 of county funds. So it deals with that type of corruption, how he was confronted for that. What's interesting about the movie is some of its thematic choices, even for the 90s, I think were wildly predictive. It's basically a border town movie. The way it depicts the tensions between the U.S. and Mexican border. This fictional town is sort of a melting pot of African American, Mexican descent, indigenous descent, just English descent as well. And it's very vague in how it portrays the good and evil of all of these people. There's even a sequence that takes place in a classroom where parents are confronting teachers about some of the ways that these lessons are being taught, which feels very predictive about how critical race theory is being interpreted nowadays. There's actually a great piece on this movie from Domino Renee Perez that discusses a lot about this and how this fusion of past and present in this Western Texas town is even more timely nowadays. I urge people to go and check that out. I'll leave it here, but the reason why I wanted to highlight here as one of the best neo-Westerns is that, aesthetically speaking, I feel like it's one of the most important and most literal depictions of what we see and think of as a neo-Western. It feels very Western-like, but much of this does take place in the 90s. So it still feels very modern and contemporary, even though it is relishing in some Western style tropes. And it's a very interesting movie and a very provocative one. I hope you check it out someday.
Yeah, I'll certainly have to add it to the list. And look, we're going through the 90s now as far as these retrospectives go. So it's on the horizon here in the next few years. So
yeah,
worst case, we'll get to it there.
Good movie.
My number 4 is similar to Meek's Cutoff. This is a relatively new film, though, so I've never had an opportunity to have it discussed here in a top 5 setting. But one of my favorite films from the year that it came out is Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog.
Okay. Okay.
And I love this as a neo-Western for similar reasons to Meek's Cutoff, in the sense that there's a lot of internalized conflict to this film. It's much like First Cow in that same vein, which came out, I think, the year before. But this film is really patient. It is thoughtful. It's poignant. Its characters are lived in. And it's also a film that is subverting the cowboy myth. It's wanting to tackle issues that are often depicted in Westerns, but not really wrestled with in a real way, particularly as it relates to sexuality and addiction and loneliness and how all of those things are connected. The Power of the Dog spends a lot of time wrestling with the tethering of those ideas and how that is then used to subvert the cowboy myth, I think is really fascinating. And so it's done in this really contemporary way. And you think, or you couple that with the aesthetic choices of the film, in that, you know, we were talking about this with Meek's Cutoff. It's certainly going to be applicable to a lot of these films that we talk about with this genre, with the kind of gritty, rugged aesthetic that you tend to get with a lot of these films. The Power of the Dog does have a rustic shine to it, but visually speaking, there's much more of an elegance to
it's pretty lush
aesthetically. It's lush, it's evocative, and that, I think, complements a lot of the symbolism we get in the film as well. So that's another element that Campion brings to her filmmaking that taps into these characters and what they're experiencing, and how this film acts as a neo-Western despite its, you know, time period setting, and how that may or may not qualify for some people. And also there's a little bit of the feminine perspective of this film as well. It's not quite
Yeah.
as prominent as what you get in Meek's Cutoff, but there's certainly some of it here as well that Campion is trying to balance out with her male characters.
Sure.
And, you know, and certainly there's a lot more as it relates to power and struggle and moral complexities that are very modern in the way that Campion explores them in this film. So I still maintain it's one of the best films of its year, and a film that, you know, falls into this camp really well. So it's my number 4 here.
Yeah, yeah. Again, a film I didn't quite consider because of that time period, but kind of works as a great companion piece of sorts to Meek's Cutoff. There are some similar thematic ideas, similar approaches, both films directed by women as well. But I think The Power of the Dog is very interesting because of what you're saying, given how lush and pretty the movie looks. Because most of these more modern Westerns that are dealing with more modern themes, even if they take place in the Old West, they have more of a ruggedness to them. They look dirty. They look almost grimy in a way. But The Power of the Dog has this polish to it that almost makes it look like a more traditional Old Western, which in a way I think heightens those modern themes. It makes them more apparent, makes them more noticeable. There's a contradiction happening in that movie that I think is a benefit to the movie regarding its visuals and how its themes feel so almost disconnected from the way the film looks. I find that to be such a fascinating choice in making the movie that is very new and old-fashioned at the same time. I think it's a very fascinating one.
Yeah. Okay, off to number 3, right? What do you
Number
got at
3. My number 3 pick is the 2007 film that we were alluding to. You mentioned 3 heavy-hitting Westerns from that year that could almost qualify. For me, it was only one, and it's not even my favorite of those 3 Westerns. It's not even my second favorite of those 3 Westerns. My number 3 is No Country for Old Men.
Interesting. I did not have you pegged for No Country for Old Men for this list.
It's because it's the one of the 3 that feels the most contemporary to me. That's really the reason why.
I mean, yeah, that's very, very true. I guess that makes sense. I don't know why I'm coming off surprised here, given your criteria. The other 2 definitely don't qualify.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I felt like you were probably thinking I was going to go with There'll Be Blood, but that still feels more in line with the like the traditional sense of place of most Westerns, even if it is the early 1900s. That still feels more like a traditional Western, whereas No Country for Old Men is a crime thriller that is a modern day Western.
I definitely have had you pegged for one of the other 2.
I mean, I like the other 2 movies more. I just think for the context of this conversation, No Country for Old Men more fits the bill.
No, I mean, given your criteria, it makes a lot of sense. I should have seen this coming, given your criteria. It's a total brain fart on my end.
You're good, man.
I know how you feel about the other 2, so I was sitting here not anticipating this at all. So when you said it, it took my brain a second to adjust. Like,
to catch up a little bit.
Did he just say what I thought he just said? So that's why I had like I looked like I was having a spasm there.
Yeah.
This is my number 1.
Oh, it's your number 1. We're getting right to it. Okay. I love this movie. I think it was in my top 10 for 2007. It's sort of in that 8 through 10 range for me. There are movies from that year I do like more than No Country for Old Men, which I guess might be a bit of a hot take. But for the context of this conversation, neo-Western specifically, No Country for Old Men kind of started a bit of a trend. Because with No Country for Old Men, we don't get the work of, let's say, Taylor Sheridan, for instance, his written work on movies like Sicario or Hell or High Water or Wind River, which he also directed. Heck, even the show Yellowstone with Kevin Costner, right? These are modern day set Westerns. They are literally contemporary Westerns. No Country for Old Men kind of birthed a new trend, right? And that's why I needed to at least have it on my list. Even though there are other Westerns I know I like more than this, I still think it's a very effective film in that context, and also looking at it as a movie about humanity shifting for the worst for that time period. And I think it's very, very effective in that regard too, for reasons I'm sure you'll also talk about. But yeah, I think as far as modern day Westerns, contemporary Westerns, this is probably one of the most literal examples that we can think of, which is why I picked it here.
Yeah, I love this movie for a lot of reasons. It is one of my very favorite films of 2007, probably my favorite film of that year. I know There Will Be Blood gets a lot of love. It's probably number one for a lot of other people. I think what I love about No Country for Old Men and why I slightly prefer it is that it's this neo-Western, certainly more modern in its contemporary, to your point, and how that is juxtaposed with what this film is really about. I love that the Coens are like, you know what? Let's make this aesthetic neo-Western that is extremely tense and brooding and dramatic. But despite what that feels on the surface, let's make a movie about spirituality. Because that's ultimately
that is
what
it
this
is.
film is about.
Yeah.
It is about spirituality. It is about
both.
Sheriff Bell.
Yeah, faith, all that rolling in here. It's amazing stuff.
Yes. It is Sheriff Bell coming to terms with and longing for something external to help him cope with these arduous things he's witnessed and experienced over the course of his life. And he's run into this powerful entity that he cannot stop, that forces him to move beyond his own personal vigor and try to figure out why this evil has outmatched him at every single turn. And the way those reveals come together at the end of this film, I think, are incredible. It is arguably Tommy Lee Jones's best performance. And those revelations in particular at the end are arguably the best individual moments of acting he's ever done. It is
I love it.
Incredibly fascinating. And I love that juxtaposition of let's make a Western and we're going to make it masculine. And also it's a movie about faith and spirituality and the idea that your masculinity can't save you, which we see time and time and time again with all of these characters who cannot stop the fate that is coming for them. The evil is there and you can do nothing about it. All you can do is pray to your God that you are saved from that fate, which, as we see at the end of the film, kind of bleak in that regard. But that thematic idea kind of unmasking the Western aesthetic, I just think is incredible. That to me is peak filmmaking. And look, I love There Will Be Blood as much as everyone else. I really do. It's in my top 3 of that year as well. But there's something about that particular subversion in No Country that speaks to me on an emotional level that kind of just takes the cake for me. And why it's my number 1 here as well.
Well, once again, another one of these films that, even though this one's different by taking place in a more contemporary setting, it's taking traditional themes from Westerns and upending them by making a movie that's not about traditional Western heroism. If anything, this is about how none of those people exist anymore. I mean, in a way, that's kind of why the movie is called what it is. There's no country for those old timers anymore. There's no time and place for them anymore. Times have changed. Dehumanization has taken over. And that, just that idea, I think, is very pertinent to what the neo-Western is, because it takes the familiar and makes it new, makes it completely different. It reshapes it and reforms it. And I think
which is
this
why
movie,
the ending is necessary, as devastating as it is. It speaks to that idea in profound ways. Yeah,
it's kind of hopeless in a way, but I think it's very effective in that regard.
But also prescient, because good Lord, 2025, we're all looking for hope. Maybe Superman will show up. Who knows?
Maybe Superman will come back. Maybe Superman will come in and be the new host of the Late Show or something like that.
One could hope. One could hope. But I think that's why No Country. it's timeless in that regard.
It's very timeless and very timely
Yeah.
for sure. So that was my number 3, and you already mentioned it's your number 1. You've already revealed your number 1 and number 2 picks, but do you want to just go ahead and do your number 3 just to keep the rhythm going? How do you want to do this?
Sure. Yeah, I might as well round up my top 5 here. So at number 1 for me is Wim Wenders' Paris, Texas.
Oh, you mean your number 3, right?
Yeah, number 3. Is that not what I said?
I think you said number 1.
My number 1 now is Paris, Texas. No, my number 3. Yeah, my number 3 is
number 3 is Paris, Texas.
Paris, Texas. Yeah.
My number 1 is Paris, Texas.
There you go. So we're just flip-flopping.
We're just flip-flopping here. Yeah, great movie.
Love it. I mean, I guess I'll let you speak to it a little bit more then, since it's your number 1. But yeah, love the reinvention of the Western landscape here taking place in Texas. For the most part, those Los Angeles scenes at the beginning of the film are incredibly poignant. But yeah, I mean, the reinvention of that American West landscape, the deserts, the highways, the motels, I think is incredible. And similar to a lot of these films that we've talked about, there's kind of this quiet introspection that I love about this film as it wrestles with past regret and guilt and the mistakes you make trying to remedy that as much as you possibly can, which ultimately leads to this film being about connection in many ways as well. And I love how all of that kind of unfolds here. There's a visual poetry to the film. It's a little similar to The Power of the Dog in that way, but I would say the aesthetic, the camera work is more rugged than The Power of the Dog. But I do love the visual evocativeness of this film as well. And there's something about Wim Wenders. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you go. There is something about Wim Wenders tackling this idea that gives it this refreshing outside perspective, because he's not American, obviously.
Yeah, he's German.
And he brings a sensitivity to it that, kind of gives you almost like this objective perspective where we're so integrated with American lore and the American West that we might have these U.S. colored glasses on as it relates to those themes and ideas. And he brings this European sensitivity to it that
it's more
I
pragmatic.
also really loved. Yeah, that I think is really great. So,
it's actually very similar to something like Perfect Days,
Honestly.
Rather than being, an American landscape, that being, Japan. But he does something very similar, bringing his own European perspective to something that's not his own. So it allows him to be more objective in that regard.
Yeah, that's great. So all those reasons why it's my number 3 here. I deeply love that movie.
It's a beautiful film just about fathers and sons, even though it ends in a way where it becomes more about mothers and sons, right?
Yeah, sure.
It takes a lot for a great performance from Harry Dean Stanton here specifically, when those reveals come at the end, to make you feel pity for a man that in a way doesn't even deserve it. Some of the stuff he reveals as to why he was wandering the way he was, he's not really a good person. He has made some terrible choices.
There's a reason he's struggling with guilt and regret.
yeah, there's a huge reason why. And in any other hands, in any other lesser performer or lesser director, it would ring so aggressively mean-spirited that you just couldn't find any empathy for that character anymore. And yet you still believe that this man is trying to atone for those horrible mistakes. And I think that speaks to his great performance. I think it is amazing stuff. But yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. I knew I had to include it here for this specific topic. What a movie! What a movie! What a performance! Dean Stockwell is great in this as well. But as far as how it functions as a neo-Western, being a film from the 80s specifically, I feel like it's one of the first to really capture the essence of what a neo-Western could be in some ways. But it explores similar themes that we would see in most Westerns leading up to that point, whether it be about isolation, redemption. It has similar like road movie elements, traveling through the Southwest specifically, the idea of a protagonist embarking on some type of journey. It's dealing with Western tropes in a very melancholic way that does, again, all these movies are all about deconstructing the traditional Western tropes.
Yeah,
Whether they
yeah.
be in a modern day setting or not is almost beside the point. But this is another great example of that. I just happen to think it's one of the most moving examples of that. And that's why it's my number one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you revealed your number 2 already?
I did not. At least I don't think I
So-
did.
All right, so we're to your number 2 then.
So yeah, I think that's the last film. Yeah, my number 2 is Thelma and Louise. Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Kind of a nice comparison once again to your picks with Meek's Cutoff and The Power of the Dog,
Yeah.
tackling into the feminist perspective
Yeah.
once again. The only difference here, this being directed by a man, and Ridley Scott actually doing a damn good job at it, right?
Yeah.
It's one of his best movies.
That's great.
But
Yeah.
again, I like to talk about why I picked these and how they fit the definition of a neo-Western, because Thelma and Louise does carry some very similar things that we've seen in Western movies before, such as themes of justice, freedom, the fact that these are outlaw protagonists, right? In a way, this is kind of the female-led version of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And it even crystallizes in a rather similar way, right? And I think just given that landscape, given the way that Ridley Scott, being such a big filmmaker, captures the vastness of these settings and the locations here, it feels like a Western in many ways. It really does. So by capturing those aesthetics, by leaning into them, and also maintaining some more traditional themes, in a way, this is probably weirdly the most traditional Western of all my picks, even though it does take place in a modern day landscape. But I think it's also, like Paris, Texas, a very moving film. I love the dynamic between Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon here. Just the two of them together, I think, is one of the big reasons why I cite this as one of Ridley Scott's best films. And everything comes together to make one of my favorite films of his. I think it's quite great.
It's good. No, I completely agree with all of that. So I think it's hilarious that we started this conversation by saying, oh, look, we're going to have great variety on our list. And then we crossed over 3 times.
I should have just stuck with picking movies like Nope and The Rover for my list.
I just think that is hilarious. We try, but we can't escape it.
It's kind of interesting. I'm looking at my honorable mentions, which we'll get to here in just a moment. There's one in my honorable mentions that I'm surprised didn't quite make your top 5.
Okay, which one?
Badlands, the Terrence Malick film.
I mean, very much on, that's a high honorable mention. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I could have shoehorned that in with, similarly with Meek's Cutoff and The Power of the Dog. But I just wanted to highlight those films maybe a little bit more. Like as neo-Westerns, I probably prefer them slightly. But Badlands is great. I mean, I love it. High honorable mention. Would have been on a top 10, hands down.
Would have been on a top 10 for me as well. As far as other honorable mentions, I already mentioned Nope and The Rover, Badlands. Those 3 would be somewhere in my top 10. I might also include Sicario, going back to Taylor Sheridan, who wrote that film. Very much a modern day Western in many ways.
Yeah.
Rounding out my top 10, I'd probably go with Gore Verbinski's Rango, the animated film.
I wondered if you were going to have that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. But a few others I quickly want to highlight before tossing it back to you. Brokeback Mountain, I think is very good. Roadhouse, the Patrick Swayze film. Kind of a weird Western in its own way. I really like that film. Going back to comedies once again, similarly to Roadhouse, City Slickers with Billy Crystal.
City Slickers.
Very fun movie. I quite love it.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned Hell or High Water as well during this conversation when speaking about Taylor Sheridan, but that's also another honorable mention of mine. I'll end here and toss it back to you, but my last honorable mention would be another Clint Eastwood vehicle, Dirty Harry. I'd cite here as
Good
a
old
kind
Dirty
of a
Harry.
kind of a neo-Western of sorts.
Nice. Yeah, Badlands absolutely on my list. Unforgiven for sure. Left Unforgiven off for the same as 2007, which speaking of There Will Be Blood, the assassination of Jesse James, high honorable mentions for me. Sicario, very much on the list for me. The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada.
Have not seen that one. Haven't seen that one.
Really, really good. Hell or High Water. Going back to the Coens again, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I very much considered for this list.
That's a fun movie.
I love it. Logan, the X-Men.
Again, another one surprised didn't make your list.
Yeah.
At least your top 5
Heavily
at least.
considered it. Yeah, very, very much did. The Proposition, I really wanted to have on this list as well.
Love that movie.
Out of the Furnace.
Okay.
I really like, but I don't know if I like Out of the Furnace because of Out of the Furnace or if it's the whole Jeff Bridges connection, which I haven't really told on this show in a really long time. But since the trailer for Tron Ares came out today, I might as well repeat it.
Sure.
But in 2013, there were at least 4 or 5 different interviews with Jeff Bridges. And this was well before the film came out. Out of the Furnace came out in like December.
Yeah.
And this was like July. And he's out on this media circuit going, have you guys seen Out of the Furnace yet? It's really good. Like, no, Jeff, the film hasn't come out yet. But my favorite moment specifically, he's talking to Jennifer Lawrence because I think one of the Hunger Games movies just came out.
Okay.
He's talking to Jennifer Lawrence, and he says the same thing to Jennifer Lawrence. Have you seen Out of the Furnace? And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But she's like that high energy Jennifer Lawrence from 2013. And so she's just having a ball. She's getting to talk to Jeff Bridges. And he's just like, have you seen Out of the Furnace? No one's seen that movie yet.
He is so excited to support his friend Scott Cooper after working with him on Crazy Heart.
Yeah, which another good honorable mention for me.
There you go.
I thought that was so funny. That whole year, he's like, have you seen Out of the Furnace? So I don't know if I like the movie because of that or if it's the film itself, but it has this lore to it for me now that I love the movie. Other honorable mentions, speaking of Jeff Bridges, True Grit.
Okay. Yeah.
Slow West, I thought of for this list as well.
Okay.
Rango, I also had on here. The Revenant, I like way more than most people do.
It's a good movie.
First Cow. Midnight Special, I think pseudo qualifies here.
Yeah.
A little bit. Got that Texas aesthetic in there. And the last one on here, I don't know if this qualifies. Maybe it works as an Australian neo-Western. Mad Max Fury Road.
I was going to say if Mad Max could qualify here. And I mean, if I'm going to consider The Rover as a neo-Western, I feel like Mad Max is sort of a much bigger, more post-apocalyptic version of that.
Yeah.
Because they're both Australian films, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think they have to be both acknowledged in its own way.
And I think that's it. Because like it might be easy to get caught up in the post-apocalyptic of it all and the craziness of Mad Max. But like, I think like as a Australian kind of modern contemporary / post-apocalyptic version of a neo-Western, I think it kind of fits that bill a little bit.
I think it does.
So,
yeah, I thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't quite. I feel like if I had it in my top 5, it would have been a shoehorned in just to talk about Mad Max Fury Road. But I think it's an interesting conversation as an honorable mention at the very least.
Yeah.
So
I did think of one other, since we did just talk about Quentin Tarantino with Kill Bill Volume 2. He has made quite a few Westerns, right?
Yeah.
The Hateful Eight and Django Unchained. But the other movie I would consider for this list, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think that absolutely qualifies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our list for top 5 neo-Westerns. If you agree or disagree with us, leave a comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit us up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can always email us InSessionFilm@gmail.com. But again, this week, if you hit us up and I'm a little late in replying to you, I do apologize. Because
no, you don't. You're ignoring him. You're ignoring
I
everybody.
am relying on Brendan and Dave to keep up with our social medias this week, which means we're going to be behind. God bless them too.
I manage other social media accounts. I can't throw another one on there.
Yeah. At any rate, we do appreciate those that do reach out and listen to the show. We've had some really fun comments about Sam being on the show.
Yeah.
We got last week my favorite tweet reply we've maybe ever had on the show. Someone just saying, "I need lore" with a bunch of exclamation points.
I love that.
If you know, you know. Like, I just love that song. I showed that to Sam, and he just had a ball. It was so good. I loved it. Reviews this week. What do we got for reviews? So I am not going to be on for any of the reviews because, again, I am in Michigan enjoying the great Michigan summer.
Mm-hmm.
But Brendan has a guest, and you guys are talking Eddington.
Yep, Ari Aster's latest. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm fairly certain, or maybe it just worked out this way, the last Aster film, did we talk about Beau is Afraid?
I was not there for it.
I don't think I was either. Unless we caught up with it late, because the reason I say that, I remember watching the movie while on vacation. We were in Tennessee, and one of our cabin vacations in Tennessee, that's where I watched it. Maybe we did a review after the math, I don't know. But I do remember watching it on vacation, which I might have to do the same this time.
That podcast was done by our old friends Jay Ledbetter and Ryan McQuaid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense now.
Makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I caught up with it on vacation. So yeah, Brennan will talk Eddington with a guest, and then I know what you did last summer. Megan Kearns is going to be hosting that one once again, and she's going to be joined by one of our writers, Lane Mills, I believe. I need to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can be on the lookout for that this week as well. And there will be a new Women in Session at the end of the week. So despite me being gone, should be a normal week. Normal, good, full week. So
absolutely.
Anything else before we get out of here, Brendan? Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so, but I will simply say this whole exercise talking about neo-westerns, I'm starting to realize how much I love this subgenre. Many of these movies we've talked about aesthetically, like this is kind of my thing. Like I just love movies that look and feel this way. Yeah. And this whole conversation kind of reopened that love up for me, or at least it reignited that. So I might have to seek out some more movies like this that I haven't seen, such as some of them that you mentioned. And there are a few other neo-westerns by definition that I haven't seen yet. So I like these aesthetic choices. I think they're really good. I think they're really cool.
Yeah, we've seen some really great neo-westerns over the last couple decades or so. It's a subgenre that I really love as well. I think that's what's been fun about these topics the last 2 weeks, even though on their own terms, I would sit here and tell you, oh yeah, Alien is a favorite of mine, or pick any film, Rocky, any of the film, Jurassic Park. But I've never really thought about it through the context of franchise starters the way we did last week. Yeah. Because the moment you brought it up, I started to just calculate a bunch in my head and was like, this is a really rich topic.
Yeah, it is,
there's
right?
so many good ones here. I've never really thought about that before. I guess it makes a lot of sense. That's why they spurred on them as franchises, because that first one was excellent. So the logic is very much there, but that context never really funneled it specifically that way before. That was fun. So yeah, these last couple of weeks have been really fun in that regard.
I like doing either top fives or these top 10 consensus rankings. These are fun. We have to do these more often.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy the drafts as well, but I feel like there's a different kind of pressure that comes with those conversations.
It's nice to get competitive for once.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this was fun. All right, I'm gonna go enjoy Lake Michigan. So you guys have a great time.
Enjoy it, man.
Enjoy your week. I'm gonna go do the Michigan thing. So, with all that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the InSession Film Podcast. Stephen Colbert better have a job when I get back.
I think
That's
he
all
will.
I'm saying.